Alright guys, welcome back to MMGinvest and WolfPack Cryptos. In this video, I'm going to cover some trends. Because last night, I went on Google Trends and I was just curious, what are people doing? What are the normies doing? Because I'm not normal, and most of my followers are not normal as well. And that's a good thing because we're not like the masses, right? We think outside the box. We try to get ahead of the trend so we could profit off of it. So we could find opportunities, right? Because you want to be ahead of the herd, not with the herd. Because usually what happens to the sheep in the end. Now, it makes sense that Bitcoin searches are down because of the price. And it makes sense, but what I've noticed on the internet is that there aren't as many. It almost feels like there aren't as many people on the social media platforms. There isn't as much buzz, and there aren't too many normies coming into the space or just on social media and the internet in its entirety. And I was curious, so I started doing some research, and I'm thinking, is internet traffic falling? What are people doing then? What are normal people doing? Now, when I'm out in the normal world, you know, running errands, going to the gym, going to stores, or traveling, everything just looks as it always has. People are just doing the normie things, right? Which is just shopping. And I wanted to find out, what are the trends? Are people traveling? Or what are people doing? Okay. Now, here's just your basic, there is no search term. Since 2004 on Google, yes, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, these since 2004 have broken out, and a lot of people have gone on to them. Now, recently in the past 12 months, 2 years, is that the case? Are people falling off? Are they using the internet less? Because when you go on a lot of forums and different places on the internet, it just seems like traffic has died down. And I've been on the internet for a very long time, since the 90s, and it's kind of like I could feel it or see it, or it's hard to explain. So I started doing some search terms. I started looking up search terms, and Google itself as a search term has flatlined. It's not rising or going down. So about the same amount of people are using Google to search for search terms. And Google Trends is still a good tool to gauge what people are thinking, essentially, or what are they doing. All right, so let's start off with Bitcoin for the hell of it. So this is only United States. I don't want to use worldwide because, well, I'll do it for a second because it skews the search terms. As you can see, it looks just like the price, right? There was a bubble in 2017, and it's still falling. So let's go to worldwide. And you guys could do this at home. This is free. It's not, you don't have to pay for it or anything. And it's still dropping. It's down there for the current time. That's nothing surprising. Let's do gold, because we focus on investing, right? And gold has actually been trending slightly up since 2004, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting that. But it's been slightly trending up overall. So that's good for our bottom line and our investment. It's probably because people, even the normies, are starting to realize that inflation's it's been picking up over the years, over the decades, while their wages have stayed stagnant. But this is worldwide search. Let's go back to the United States. I bet the United States, it's fallen. Well, it's it hasn't fallen. It's fallen lately in the past few years, but since 2016, which makes sense. That's what the price has done as well. But overall, since 2004, it's been on a steady incline here. So that's interesting. So worldwide, it's been going up. In the United States, it's been going up, but lately it's been going sideways. Interest overall, at least. All right, so let's get into some other search terms. All right, so here's YouTube searches in Google. Now, I personally, when I want to go to YouTube, I just type in YouTube real quick, and a lot of people do that. A lot of normies do that as well. And YouTube searches has actually fallen. And I know a lot of people are wondering, well, people just use the app. They click on the app on their phones and blah, blah, blah. But still, you would see an uptick even in Google search for YouTube, because people still use PCs at home. That hasn't fallen. And we'll look at stats for that as well. So YouTube searches have actually fallen. So maybe it's peaked out, at least in the United States, that people are going on to YouTube as a whole. So I'm wondering, are people watching more movies, right, since 2004? This is all data since 2004. So it looks like movies has flatlined, and it's trending sideways now. It peaked out in like 2016, it looks like. And ever since then, it's been falling. Netflix. Are more and more people going on Netflix? Well, it looks like that has also peaked out, I would say, around 2014, 15. There was a huge uptick. There was probably some TV series or something on Netflix. I know Netflix started making their own movies and stuff, and there was an uptick in 2018, but it looks like it's peaked out as well. So Netflix watching has peaked out, movies have peaked out. Now, there's also other theories why movies have peaked out. My personal theory is that this NPC culture has sort of ruined movies. They're not as good as they used to be. All these superhero movies, these Marvel movies, I mean, they're all the same. It's the same plot over and over again. All the CGI, in my personal opinion, does not make movies any better. In recent years, there's not been too many movies that have stuck with me, meaning that I think about them after the fact, like that was a good movie, or remember anything about the movies. The movies that I still remember are from like the late 90s and early 2000s, where CGI wasn't the entire freaking movie. You're not watching a cartoon. There was actual real props and things like that. The last movie that didn't use CGI and was really awesome was Mad Max, in my own opinion, and that's the last movie that really sticks with me. So I think the quality of movies has fallen because now Hollywood is catering to a global audience, not to Americans specifically, and they're using a lot of CGI and the PC culture, and there's nothing new. The plots, the storylines, it's nothing new. It's the same plots over and over again. Someone's trying to take over the world or the universe, and the good guys come and save the day. Like, there's just nothing new. You know, back in the day, there was... I loved Independence Day, The Patriot, Braveheart. There was just a lot of big... There was just a lot of big... Jurassic Park. The older Jurassic Parks, I think, were better than the newer ones because the CGI just, you know, you can't, your brain knows it's fake. It doesn't matter how good the CGI is, you know it's really like a cartoon. Those Troy, those Gladiator. There's just like a lot of movies from the past that stuck with you. And I personally don't even go to the theaters anymore because none of the new movies are really worth it to me. And this could be just my own opinion, but I don't think movies are as good as they used to be. I just wait for them to come out on Google Play or, Netflix or something. So are people playing more and more video games? No. It's actually, that peaked out around 2010 and 11, and it's been falling. So people aren't looking for new video games. People might just play the same old video games that they keep redoing, like Call of Duty or something. Are people going to Google Play more to order movies and watch movies off of Google Play? No, that peaked out in like 2016 and 15 as well. And it's been falling ever since. Kayak. So are people traveling more? Are Americans, I don't want to say people, like globally, are Americans traveling more? Because I know for a fact Chinese are traveling more, because wherever I go, and when I used to travel a few years ago, I used to travel a lot more. I don't travel recently. In the past few years, I haven't been traveling too much. But are Americans traveling more? Well, there are searches for Kayak and Travelocity, all these booking sites for airfare and hotels have been falling for web searches lately. And yeah, it's been falling. Also, with Google Play, Google Apps has also fallen too. So people are looking for less apps. That also peaked around 2015-16. Airbnb. Although Airbnb looks like that has been breaking out. So there is some divergence there. Now, Airbnb is cheaper, right? It's people who are looking to book other people's homes. So people's vacation homes or their personal homes or some real estate they rent out to people. So this is like a cheap way it's an alternative to hotels. So people who are still traveling are looking for cheaper alternatives. So put that into context, possibly less people are traveling, but the people who are still traveling, they're looking for cheaper ways to travel. TripAdvisor. That is, I mean, look at this trend. It's been falling and falling since like 2012. And the trend has been down. So direct and total contribution of travel and tourism to 2017 from 2005. So in dollar terms, in fiat dollar terms, it's been slightly on an uptick. Now you have to remember, if inflation's running at 5%, I would average it at around 4 to 5%. This is skewed. It would actually be flatlined. And this is how an economist and an investor looks at things. We know that statistics, I mean, they are right, you could say, but you have to look at them in certain contexts, right? So if the currency is falling, it says that the spending has been going up. But if the value of the fiat is falling, it's technically flatlined. It's not really. So this is how you have to look at data. And it's how banks and corporations look at it. But the average person, doesn't look at it that way. Global international tourism revenue from 2000 to 2017 in billion US dollars. Now, that's been definitely going up. But this is global. So the Chinese economy, listen, the middle class has been exploding in China in the past 10 years. And you go anywhere, they are everywhere taking pictures. All right. So this is global. This isn't US. Total number of air traffic passengers traveling to are from 2005 to 2018. So total air traffic, it's been on an uptick, and that makes sense. Is this, so that's global as well. So annual growth in global air traffic passenger in demand. So that has actually fallen. Now this is the United States. Now in 2009 it went negative because of the Great Recession, right? The mortgage-backed security crisis. And now recently in the past few years it's been dropping. It peaked out in 2016 and 17. So here's something else that's interesting. What are people doing? It looks like people are going to the gym, which is good. That's good. Gym memberships are fairly cheap in the United States, and that's good that people are going to the gym. Parks. People have been going to the parks lately. And I know this for a fact because I've been going to the park since like 2009. And I go to the park to jog, especially with my dog. And I go to the park because running on a treadmill inside of a gym is not healthy for you. It's horrible. The air quality in the gym is really bad. Think about it. Everyone's exhaling out their mouths and out their rear end, and you're breathing it in, running on a flat surface. It's not good for your knees or ankles. The best way to jog and get that cardio in is going to the park where the ground is softer. It's not level, so your ankles actually build up muscles and you get fresh air. And plus, it's tranquil, right? You're in nature. But yeah, I mean, I've noticed personally that the parks are just getting crowded more and more. People are out there, right? And it's free to go to the park. And there's a lot of millennials, not even millennials. Millennials playing Pokemon. It's really annoying. These are grown people playing Pokemon. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more people in the park because it's relatively cheap. It's free, and it's right down the street. So people are they're finding other ways to possibly entertain themselves, and these are healthy ways actually. So I do support that. So are people buying new cars? So new car searches have been falling ever since 2004. So you might be wondering, so are people buying used cars? Not really. That has also been trending down. Although it looks like it's bottomed out and flatlined. So people are keeping their cars longer and longer. Although I've noticed that people are leasing new cars more and more, and people have been buying new cars. So this data, I mean, it's a little contradictory because I see a lot more people with new cars driving around, especially because they could get financing. So you might think that people just go to the dealerships and they look for whatever they could finance short term, and they go and they buy the cars that they get the cheapest financing for, because most people, they have no savings. They can't buy a car. They can't just buy it outright. They have to finance it. So people might actually not search for a specific car they want. They just look for the car with the cheapest payment. Homes for sale. Now this is interesting. So prior to the 2008 and 9 mortgage-backed security crisis, that was the biggest bubble in until today in history for the United States, bubble for home sales, right? But guess what? The interest for homes has been going up and up and up even since then, and it's higher since then. And I think this has peaked out. Because I look at economic data, and in the recent 12 months, in the United States at least, people are not buying homes anymore. They can't afford them, and I think it's peaked out. So you could say we have peaked out on the next home bubble, real estate bubble. Same with Australia, Canada, Europe, especially London or the UK out there, and China especially with their ghost cities and the commercial real estate bubble. But this is just for the United States, this chart. So people have been very interested in buying homes. Google App Store, that's been falling. I've talked about that. So I was interested in retail sales in the United States, 2000 to 2018. So obviously you could see in 2008 and 9, it's been falling. Prior to that, it was falling from 2006 down. So you could gauge from Christmas shopping if the U.S. consumer is tapped out. And it looks like it's been somewhat steady and growing a little bit since 2010 because of all the quantitative easing. So, but the consumer, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. It looks like they're tapped out. I would expect this to fall, especially since I look at economic data. Sports. Are people into sports? Well, it looks like in 2000 and let's say 11 to 14, it peaked out. So the normies' interest in sports, and it's been falling ever since 2014. So that's interesting as well. People aren't interested as much in sports. Now, what does all this mean? Are people just not interested in anything anymore? I think what's going on here for the United States, what is happening is I think their discretionary spending has run out. Like that extra cash for them to do things. And their interest in a lot of things has fallen. Now, with internet traffic and internet searches and all of that, there's more data. So, users, most famous social networks. So, in 2019, January of 2019, globally, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat, Instagram, I don't know what QQ is, QZone, TikTok, all this crap. Twitter's all the way down here, believe it or not. There's only like 25 million users of Twitter in the United States. It's been growing, especially Facebook, but that's globally. Now, through my research here, North America, United States and Canada, it's tapped itself out with social media, meaning all the users of social media has peaked. We've seen peak social media. And the usage of Facebook and all that is actually dropping for the US and Canada and all that. And then you could speculate why, because your data being sold and whatnot. But also it's I've noticed that Facebook, it's kind of toxic. Like people are just trying to impress each other or make other people envious, and then there's politics and the data. It's kind of toxic. It really is. That's what it's turned into, at least. So you can see that the developed nations have hit peak social media, and they're kind of backing off, and they're getting off of these. They're done with it. All right. But in Asia, India, and the East, they're still coming into the social media realm and the internet realm. Europe is I think they're done. They're definitely going to fall off the internet because of the new EU laws, and basically they've destroyed the internet in Europe because of the copyright laws. And there's just no way that YouTube and these social media platforms are going to be able to function in Europe with these new copyright laws. And I don't want to get into it. I've shared videos about it in the chat rooms of WolfPack Cryptos and MMGinvest, because literally, I mean, in Europe, people are There's not going to be anything on the internet for you. It's going to be like China. It's going to be completely censored, throttled. Like, the internet's going to be horrible in Europe. You're not even going to be able to go on social media, or if you are, they're just going to give you mainstream media in Europe on the internet because of the EU, tyranny, because it's basically socialism and communism in Europe now. Europe has pretty much fallen to that. Global interest statistics for 2018. Asia is about 50% right now. Europe 17%. And North America is only 9%. Meaning, like I said, the West, like America, is pretty much tapped out. Everyone who's going to be on the internet is already on it. So it's not growing anymore. Europe is going to fall off, and Asia is going to continue to grow, and more Asian and Indian people, and anywhere on the East there, the interest is going to continue to rise, and more people are going to use the internet. Here's the thing, though. You have to understand something. I have, through my YouTube analytics, I can see who watches me. There's nobody from China who watches me. There's a very small percentage of Indian people. And that's because those governments have forced the tech giants to censor. So anyone who makes videos or websites in the United States, well, people from the East, they can't access it unless they use a VPN. And it's like they've created like these digital ghettos and prisons, the governments. And you have to understand that the people on the East, they can't access all the information and websites and channels and social media of the West, including Europe now. So you could lump in Europe. Europe's like North Korea now. So it's good. What it's going to turn into. It's just going to take some time, a few years, because of the Article 13. So basically, my market has peaked out, and it's actually going to fall because of Europe. So it's interesting. They're trying to pretty much destroy the freedom of the internet at this point. So minutes spent per day media worldwide. So internet is continuing to rise and rise while TV is falling. That shouldn't surprise anyone. But this is the US. Internet, it's been rising, and TV's been falling and falling. But I have a feeling, there's the bell curve. It's gonna tap out the internet usage per minute, because everyone in the US who's using the internet now is pretty much it. Now, as population growth of the US, it is going to keep growing. So, it might slightly go higher, but not all that much. So, social media statistics. Now, yes, social media is rising globally. But you have to understand, the Facebook and the YouTube and all of this that they get in China and the Asian geographic region, that is separate from what we have in the United States. It's like they have their own separate Facebook, their own separate YouTube. Same with Russia, and same with Europe now. If Europe is even going to be able to have any social media because of these new laws that just passed last week. And, it's going to take years for that to play out. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully it just completely falls apart and fails and they can't censor anything. But these are the trends that I see. Now, the trend is, overall, in a nutshell, the US has peaked out, and from now on it's going to go sideways or slightly fall. So internet traffic and interest. Now, there's another thing about all of this that I haven't talked about is, like censoring and shadow banning and all that. It's very real, it's very alive, and it discourages people from even going on the internet or going onto any of these social media platforms or as a whole, because if you can't find anything that you're looking for and things are censored, people are less likely to just go on the internet as a whole, because it's just going to be a boring place to be, just like, you know, mainstream media. The same garbage is going to be put out. So yeah, I covered that. Retail stores, e-commerce. E-commerce has been on the rise, and it should keep going on the rise because you don't have to pay taxes on e-commerce, but they're trying to change that as well. Overall, if you're an American, or if you're in the Americas, the continents, it seems to have peaked, or we're very near peak. Europe, that's going to be a basket case, and that's probably going to fall because of these new laws. Asia is still on the rise, and I see that to continue to rise for probably some time, maybe another decade. And but the thing is, people need to understand, the internet is not free and open for the world. It's like they've built barriers and firewalls in China. Like there's Chinese internet, there's Indian internet, there's Russian and Europe internet now, and the only free internet is Australia, the United States, Canada, and South America now. So it's going to be interesting. Now, imagine what would happen if all of these barriers and laws and regulations fell and the internet became free globally. How interesting would that be? That would be very interesting. I think that would boost the global economy as a whole, and information and everything. Maybe once people learn to circumvent these firewalls and everything, we'll truly have a free internet. But things look grim. Now, from my trends research, the only conclusion I could get is, I think the U.S. normies are at this inflection point where there isn't too much new things to learn. Everyone is where they are. I don't see Americans going more onto YouTube and searching for new things, which is sad. I just think we're sort of in this phase where complacency has set in and people are set on their ways until something comes along and changes it very violently and abruptly. News trend searches, news has been going up as well. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, because I don't know what people are searching. It looks like MSM is losing viewership, so alternative media is on the rise, but at the same time, I do not see them on the rise on YouTube, so I don't know where people are. It looks like people are searching for alternative media, but they can't find it because of shadow banning and censorship. So I think internet traffic in the US will pick up once people are forced to change their ways, their complacent ways. And I feel like people in the US they're becoming more isolated in a way. They don't want to hear about new ideas. And probably since after the 2016 election, a lot of people got red-pilled and they sort of woken up to the realities of how messed up the United States is politically, at least. So people are probably just sticking their heads in the sand right now, and they just want to get away from the negativity. They don't want what's left of their reality to be smashed and shattered. And it is going to get smashed and shattered once we get an economic reset, because this economy is obviously in a bubble that it's been inflated by the central banks. And things should pick up once the economy finally, it's peaked out. All right, guys. And the dollar, I don't want to get into economics on this video, but I see the economics, or the Google search terms and the trends, they're going to change, and they're going to change in hopefully our favor, right? Because if you want to be a contrarian, you're hoping that cryptos and metals and gold is a contrarian indication. The normies aren't looking at it at all. So they're probably near the bottom, if not at the bottom, and the only way is going to be back up as there's a cyclical Fibonacci change. Not just economically, but psychologically. And it looks like the U.S. has, I think we've hit that peak, that complacency and that peak. And there's going to be some big changes on the way. Globally, same thing. So we'll see how this plays out. Let me know what you guys think. I hope no one thought I wasted their time with this. I just thought this was all interesting and fascinating. And smash that like if you liked it. And leave in the comment section what you think, or if you found anything interesting with your own research and results. Until next time, guys.